How's it going, everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing great. Sorry, I'm just getting a little organized here. But let me know in the comments if you see me live. And welcome to everyone tuning in from LinkedIn, and also for everyone tuning in from Facebook. Actually, I'm seeing here that I'm having some issues with LinkedIn. Uh, let's see here. All right, folks, put in the comments. Let me know if you're able to see me and hear me. Okay. Looks like I might be having some issues with LinkedIn, but let me just confirm real quick. But nevertheless, if you can see me live, let me know, folks. Give me a heads up, and let me know how you're doing. Put in the comments. Let me know how you're doing. How's your day going so far, and how things are. Are you staying positive? What are you doing to? How's your job search going? Right. That's the important thing. How's your job search going? So let me just quickly check here. Make sure. So looks like there's some issues with LinkedIn for whatever reason. So in any case, just let me see if I can figure this out, folks, and let me get back to you. Actually, what I'll do is, uh, just give me a second. Sorry, bear with me, everyone. Bear with me. Bear with me. All right, let's see if that fixes things. But folks, let me know if you can see me and hear me. I had some issues with streaming to LinkedIn. Let me know in the comments for those of you on LinkedIn if you can see me. Apologies for that delay there. Let me also check it out on my phone, make sure everything's okay. And I am, in fact, streaming live on LinkedIn. All right, folks, let me know in the comments if you can. I know Facebook looks like everything's okay with Facebook. I'm still trying to figure out if those of you on LinkedIn. Hey, Jessica, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning in and commenting. All right, good. So it looks like I'm good on Facebook. Now, anyone on LinkedIn, can someone from LinkedIn let me know I am in fact streaming? I don't know why I'm having these technical difficulties today. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got a notification that I am live on LinkedIn. So, in any case, sorry about that riffraff there. I had some technical issues, but I hope everybody's doing great. And let me know in the comments, for those of you on LinkedIn, that, yeah, okay, perfect. I'm getting the LinkedIn comments. Looks like we are in business, folks. That's awesome. That's perfect. So how's everybody doing? How's everybody's day so far? How's everybody's week? Hope everybody's staying well and positive. You're staying safe and taking care of yourselves. And I'll give it like a few more seconds for those of you tuning in from LinkedIn. All right, awesome. Tejas, thanks so much for confirming. LinkedIn is live. Perfect, perfect. And let me know in the comments, folks. How's everybody doing? Are you doing great? What are you doing? What are you doing to stay productive? I'm going to be asking that question every day, all the time. Not every day, well, but every live stream at least. So hope you're staying productive, folks. Look, too much idle time, it's never a good thing, right? You always end up doing or thinking things and going into depression and all different sorts of things. Stay productive. I hope everybody's staying productive. You're learning, you're improving yourself, you're continuing your self improvement. Very important. So again, let me know in the comments what you've been doing, what you're up to. So today's topic, everyone, I'm gonna be and this was a topic that was sent to me by someone who reached out to me on LinkedIn. They sent me a private message, and they're like, "Look, Dean, can you speak about anxiety, like feeling anxiety?" Sorry, I'm just gonna mute my phone here. Can you speak about anxiety? Right? How do you deal with anxiety before as well as during your interviews? It's a common thing. A lot of people experience, right, in their job search. So put in the comments. Let me know. Do you experience anxiety? Like, do you feel anxious and nervous? Like, and to what degree? Like, is it? Do you feel like extremely nervous before and during your interviews? Is it kind of like a yeah, it's a little bit of anxiety, Dean? Not nothing much, nothing too bad, or is it like to the point where you're having difficulty concentrating even, or even before the interview, you're going for interviews, you know your heart's beating fast, you can't concentrate, you know you're having difficulty breathing. By the way, the reason I'm able to describe these things is because I myself have experienced that in the past, right? So before we get into the actual tips that I'm going to share with you for dealing with that anxiety, I want to hear from all of you. Is that an issue that you're facing in your interviews? Because look, if you are, it can, and you know, I know it's not fair, but it can affect your ability to effectively sell yourself as a candidate at the interview for the role that you're interviewing for, or with whoever you're dealing with, or meeting with at the interview, right? I'm not getting many comments on LinkedIn, folks, which is not characteristic of LinkedIn usually. So either I'm boring all of you to death, or there's some issue with the comments. So let me just open up my laptop here so I can see the comments. I want to make sure I'm answering everyone's questions and responding to everyone's comments. So give me just a few more seconds and I will get that sorted out. So I have that in front of me and I can see what all of you great people are saying or not saying, or any of your questions. By the way, put all your job search questions in the comments, folks. I'm going to get around to the questions shortly, especially if your comments are in relation to dealing with that anxiety before and during interviews. That would be perfect. So let me see here. I'm opening up this thing on my okay, so I've got, yeah, so I do, yeah, there are comments, but look, let me know in the comments, folks, if you have any job search questions, and let me know that you are tuning in. Looks like the viewership is pretty low today, so I haven't captured everyone's attention. All right, so no worries, but I will continue with today's topic. So what I'm going to be speaking about is interview anxiety. How do you deal with that anxiety during or before the interview, right? How do you deal with that stuff? So, so firstly, and I'm going to talk about 3 tips, right? Like why, firstly, in relation to dealing with this anxiety before the interview or after the interview, and all that. Sundas, hey, Sundas, thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks for your comment. Any job search questions you have, folks, put in the comments, and let me know. Do you experience interview anxiety? Do you feel anxiety, nervousness, your stomach rolling inside out? You're having difficulty breathing, and you're just feeling so nervous, right? So that's what we're going to be speaking about today. So 3 tips in relation to interview anxiety, folks. If you're taking notes, you want to write this down. And also, before I forget, quick heads up, quick 2 announcements. Firstly, if you're someone with an interest in IT or technology, I just released my new episode of Tech Talks with the Tech Recruiter yesterday. So the full episode should be on my YouTube channel. And my guest this week is a returning guest, Jeffrey Tiefer-Tiller. We spoke about business continuity and his new book in relation to business continuity. If you want to check that out, make sure you check out my LinkedIn profile. It should be in the featured post section. I released that episode yesterday, so make sure you check that out. And announcement number 2, tomorrow, for my new weekly series where I interview job search experts that are out there in the field, that are out there on LinkedIn and social media who are active, and experts in providing job search tips and advice. Tomorrow, I will be interviewing Meena Dalwani, someone I've been connected to, someone who I have spoken at her events. She's a great person, a lot of great content and value that she puts out on LinkedIn. So she will be joining me live, folks, tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time zone. So that's tomorrow. So Thursday, May 28th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time zone. So make sure you mark your calendars if you want to tune in. I'm going to be speaking about job search strategy, job search tactics, and tips with Meena. So make sure you join in and tune into that. So mark your calendar, because look, LinkedIn is not consistent in how it sends out its notifications. So just give me a heads up on that. I'm giving you a heads up on that. So mark your calendar. Tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time zone, I'm going live with Meena Dalwani. She's the CEO of Destination CEO. And we're going to be speaking about job search tips and advice from her perspective as well. So make sure you tune in. So without further ado, today's topic, folks, interview anxiety. How do you deal with that anxiety you feel before, during, maybe even after the interview? And this was a question posed to me. Someone sent me a private message. And they're like, Dean, can you please speak about this? Because I feel anxiety, and it's anxiety to the point where I can't even properly communicate during the interview. And what is your suggestion for people experiencing this anxiety and nervousness before and during, those interview sessions when you're speaking to people. Because look, folks, unfortunately, if you're not able to effectively communicate yourself and your anxiety is getting in the way of you properly communicating yourself, you end up forgetting things because you're so nervous. It can affect your ability to be considered for the role if you're not able to properly sell yourself as a candidate, right? So this is a very important topic. Now, 3 tips I wanted to speak about. I'm going to get right into it right now. Tip number 1, it's okay. It's okay if you're feeling anxiety. It does not mean something is wrong with you. Hey, Mina actually tuned in. So Mina says, hey, Dean and everyone, I just saw you live and heard my name. Absolutely, Mina. So Mina, I was just telling everyone to tune in tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time zone. Folks, Mina, who is in the comments right now, she will be present on tomorrow's live stream, right? Tomorrow's job search chat. Again, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time zone. Mark your calendar. Mina's going to be on there. She's going to be talking about job search strategies, tactics, tips, and she's going to be sharing a whole bunch of great information. So make sure you tune in. And thanks for that comment, Mina. So going back to the tips, folks. So tip number 1, it's okay if you're feeling anxiety before your interviews, during your interviews. It's completely fine. There's nothing to be. Don't let the fact that you're having anxiety cause you even more anxiety. If you're feeling anxiety, it's completely normal. It's completely fine. Every single or most people experience anxiety, folks. There's nothing wrong with you. It does not mean that it does not make you weak. It does not make you incompetent. It does not mean that you're a useless human being. Like, none of that. It's completely fine. If you feel anxiety, all it means is one thing. It means you're a human being, just like me, just like everyone else. I feel anxiety. Look, you think that, just because I might appear comfortable right now, do not assume I feel comfortable right now, okay? Like, I'm going live, I'm doing a live stream. I could be worried about, man, am I going to say something stupid? Are people going to start dropping out of my live stream? Are even people going to be watching this? I feel anxiety as well, folks. Everyone does, but you got to push through it, right? That's the whole point. So tip number 1, if you're feeling anxiety, nervousness, your stomach is feeling funny and you're like, you can't even breathe, don't be so hard on yourself. It's completely fine for you to feel that anxiety. Accept the anxiety, embrace it, okay, and acknowledge it. Don't try to suppress it. Don't try to push it aside. By doing that, it's just going to make things worse. Then you're just going to keep thinking about, oh my God, I'm so anxious, I'm so nervous, blah, blah, this and that. Take a deep breath and accept the fact and acknowledge the fact that you are feeling anxiety. That's fine. And it just means that you're a human being. So don't feel bad about it. It's completely fine for you to feel anxious and nervous. I still feel it. Even and as a recruiter, like, I pick up the phone, I call on people I don't know all the time, right? Strangers, complete strangers who have not heard about me, who don't know about me. And by the way, given the stigma associated with recruiters out there, a lot of negative feedback on recruiters out there. I remember I had to keep that as well before I'm calling people. I got to expect, okay, this person might really hate recruiters. And so I feel that anxiety, even though I make phone calls all the time, folks. I still feel, although the difference is, I'm at a point where my anxiety is like just a little bit. It's not as intense. It's not as strong as it used to be when I first started making these phone calls to candidates and people that I don't know. So look, spoiler alert, the anxiety is never going to completely disappear, folks. You might experience it. It's just going to be at a lower level. So look, if you're feeling anxiety and nervousness, it's completely normal. Don't feel bad. Don't put too much thought into it. Don't think that you're incompetent, that you're somehow less than other people. Everyone feels anxiety. And look, if you're someone who does not feel anxiety, hey, good for you. Then this live stream is not for you, right? But for those of you who do, if you're anything like me and if you feel anxiety, tip number 1 is completely normal. Accept it, embrace it, acknowledge it, because by suppressing it, it's only going to make things worse. So if you're feeling anxiety, tip number 1 is completely fine. It's completely fine. Nothing's wrong with you. You don't need to take any kind of medication or anything like that. It just means you're experiencing a human reaction to something that's outside of your comfort zone or something of that sort. So that's tip number 1. Now, tip number 2, considering now that you acknowledge the fact that, yeah, you're feeling anxious, a little nervous before the interview and during the interview, you understand that it's completely fine. It's completely normal. It's completely human for you to experience that. Now, tip number 2, folks, given that we've handled tip number 1, tip number 2 is it could be due to a lack of preparation, right? A lot of times what I advise candidates to do is, look, the more you're prepared for the interview, the less your anxiety is going to be. Why? Because you're more prepared, right? If you go in well prepared for the interview, anticipating, potential areas of weakness on your end, anticipating, certain aspects of your background and your profile the employer might bring up or the recruiter might bring up, The more you're prepared for all these various aspects, folks, the lower your anxiety level is going to be. Why? Because your level of preparedness is over here, right? Now, when your anxiety is over here, it's possible, and you need to take a look at this yourself. It's possible your level of preparation could be over here, and the more you prepare, the more your anxiety level goes back down, right? So that's what you need to be aware of, is how prepared am I? How prepared am I for this interview and this meeting? So that's what you gotta check out, right? And thanks everyone who's putting in the comments. So make sure you put in the comments any questions or concerns and anything else you have. I'm gonna get around to the comments shortly. So for those of you just joining in, tip number 1 was, if you're feeling anxiety and nervousness, it's normal. Don't stress out over it. It's completely normal. Just acknowledge the fact that you're feeling nervous and anxious, and accept the fact that, hey, this is a human emotion, and there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, right? So tip number 2, which is what I'm talking about right now, is look into your level of preparation, folks. You need to make sure that you're well prepared, not just regarding yourself, but also regarding the company and the organization, right? Have you researched the company? Are you prepared to speak about what interests you about the company and the organization? What interests you about them? More information about their project. Have you done preparation in regards to that? Have you looked over the job description? There's that side of preparation as well as your own preparation as well. Like, have you prepared? How are you gonna speak about certain projects from your background? Which projects are you gonna focus on? Which aspects do you want to highlight regarding your background? So look, a lot of you are not putting as much preparation into your interviews as you can, right? And that's what's causing you a lot of anxiety, because there's a lot of question marks regarding what to expect. Because a huge reason why anxiety occurs is because there's a huge level of uncertainty in regards to what you're going to expect at the interview, right? And a large part of that is lack of preparation. So make sure you prepare. And by the way, folks, another cause of lack of preparation is when you got that initial phone call from the organization that wants to interview you, you did not probe on that initial phone call. And by probe, I mean you did not further investigate as to what to expect at the interview. And that's why there's a whole bunch of question marks regarding how that conversation is going to go, who's going to be there. Like, these are things you need to clarify on that initial phone call, folks. And when I say initial phone call, what I'm speaking about is you submit your resume, you submit your application, and they call you. They say, "Hey, we like your resume. We wanted to have a schedule an interview with you." What most of you guys are doing is you're saying, "Yeah, sure, yeah, I want to do an interview." You get excited, right? And then you're like, "Yeah, I can do Thursday, Friday at 2 p.m. Yeah, I'm good. That's it. Okay, thanks so much. I'll talk to you then." And then that's it. But you didn't, while you had that person on the phone, you need to do some probing and investigating a bit more, folks, so you can gather more information so that you're well prepared. So after you schedule the interview, what you need to do is, when you're speaking to the person who called from the company or the recruiter, you say, "Hey, look, I'm really looking forward to the interview, and I appreciate you, considering me for a time slot to discuss myself and what I can do for your organization. But to make sure I'm not wasting your time, Mr. or Mrs. XYZ, and to make sure I'm highlighting the most relevant aspects of your background, can you tell me a bit more about, I guess, who's going to be present at the interview? Like, who's going to be there? Is it going to be yourself? Is it going to be anyone else on your team? Who's going to be there? That's the first thing you need to find out, folks. Who's going to be there, right? So they might say, "Well, yeah, it's going to be me, and I'm in HR. It's going to be me, and then there's going to be so and so who's the VP of engineering, and also we might have the director of engineering there as well." Okay, great, amazing. And now, what are their names? And I want to make sure that I'm familiar with their backgrounds and what I can anticipate them asking. What are their names? Of those other individuals. Write down those names. And now, what you're going to do, folks, after the phone call, you can go on LinkedIn and research their backgrounds. Do not add them. Do not message them just yet. What you can do is you can make sure that you research the people that are going to be meeting there, right? So this, again, reduces that level of anxiety, because one, you know who's going to be there, you know their names and all that, and two, now you're researching their backgrounds on LinkedIn, so you're aware of who they are, what their background is, and what their perspective might be. Next thing you want to ask is, okay, great, and now I do have a job description, and I'm definitely going to go over the job description to prepare myself for the interview. But what additional information can you share with me regarding what you're looking for in an ideal candidate? Because I want to make sure I don't waste you and your team's time. I want to make sure that I highlight the most relevant aspects of my background when I'm at the interview. So while I have you on the phone, and before I let you go, can you let me know more about, what are you looking for in an ideal candidate for the position, and what are you looking for this person to accomplish in this role? Ask these questions, folks. Now that way, whoever it is you're speaking to on the phone, they're going to give you a heads up on what you can expect at the interview. Now, what does this do? This gives you more clarity in regards to what they're looking for, and also what kind of tools, technologies, frameworks, um, methodologies are going to capture their attention. So that way, when you're preparing, you know how to you can prepare the most relevant aspects of your background. Now, asking these kind of questions is going to help you better hone in on and prepare for the interview, because now you have specific areas that you can prepare for and focus on, right? You don't want to answer a whole bunch of you don't want to ask a whole bunch of questions on this initial phone call, but you want to get clarity so that you're better able to prepare. And this level of preparation will allow you to reduce that level of anxiety. Because look, what's the cause of anxiety? Because you're entering an unknown, right? You're not sure how things are going to play out. What are they going to ask? Why do they even want to meet with me? What aspects of my background should I highlight? So there's that lack of preparation. So make sure on that initial phone call you clarify those things, folks, right? So I hope that helps. And if you're taking notes, I hope you're taking notes. If you're taking notes, because those questions I just mentioned, you need to be asking that on that initial phone call when they call and they want to schedule you for an interview. You want to get more clarity so you can better prepare, which increases your level of confidence and increases your level of ability to prepare for the interview, and therefore reduce that level of anxiety, right? So far, what do we have? Tip number 1 was what? Put in the comments if you know. What was tip number 1? Tip number 1 was it's okay to feel anxious and nervous and all of that before and during the interview. It's completely fine. Tip number 2, preparation. Lack of preparation can cause anxiety. Increased level of preparation can help reduce anxiety. So on that initial phone call, you need to clarify what to expect at the interview, and this will help you better prepare. And it also gives you a heads up of what you're getting into and what to expect at the meeting, who you're meeting with, and that way you research them and you get more familiar with what to expect at the interview. Again, further reducing the level of anxiety because you're aware of what to expect at the meeting. Now, tip number 3, folks. Tip number 3, another reason why anxiety is occurring is simply because you do not have enough in your pipeline. Now, when I say pipeline, I'm referring to this as the term used within sales, right? Sales and recruitment. Pipeline means opportunities. How many opportunities do you have in your pipeline, right? Because look, if this is one interview, if you only have one interview, your anxiety level is going to be way up here, right? Why? Because you're depending on one interview. You only have one interview. You're putting all your bets on this one interview. And even before you're thinking, oh my God, if I screw this up, I'm not, I have nothing else. I have to do good on this. I have to do good. I have to ace this. I had to do this. I had to do that. Oh my God, I hope I don't screw this up. You're feeling, and that just increases your level of stress and anxiety, right? Because you only have one interview. So what you need to focus on, folks, as job seekers is increase your pipeline. Have at least 3 to 4 interviews constantly going in at the same time. Now, given the current situation with COVID, I totally understand. This might not be as easy as I'm saying it. And I totally understand that. But all that means is you need to increase your level of action, right? Whereas maybe before you were only reaching out to a handful of applying to a handful of opportunities previously when things were going good. Now I want you to increase that level of action you're taking in terms of how many opportunities you're applying for, submitting your resume and all that, or reaching out to staffing agencies and recruiters and having conversations with people. You need to increase that and get yourself in front of as many decision makers and relevant people as possible, so you're able to build a constant pipeline of at least 3 to 4 interviews at the same time, folks. You get rejected from one interview, you have another one that's been converted into interview to replace that. Always have a consistent pipeline of 3 to 4 interviews, between 3 to 4 interviews. Because guess what? Look, if you have, let's say you have like 4 interviews scheduled, right? Your level of anxiety is going to be much less when you're going for one interview. Why? Because you have 3 more scheduled. Now, for those of you who only have 1 or 2 interviews, you're feeling anxiety because you only have like 1 or 2 interviews, right? And you're like, oh my God, if I screw this up, I'm back to 0. So what you need to focus on is building out that pipeline. Have a consistent flow of 3 to 4 interviews. And when you have that, then that's how you reduce those levels of anxiety. And you're not so stressed out about, oh my God, am I going to screw this up? No, because if you have 3 to 4 interviews, okay, I'm definitely going to put my best effort, my best foot forward for this particular interview. But even if I screw up, I know I have 3 to 4 other interviews lined up as well. So this reduces your level of anxiety, folks, and I hope everybody sees that. And this is another important component. And look, all three of these are very important. All three of these tips that I gave, because lacking in one can and will affect your anxiety levels and your stress levels. So make sure that you do that, and you keep that in mind, and you keep that on top of mind in regards to addressing those anxiety levels. So I hope that information was helpful. I'm going to go over those tips real quick once again. Tip number one: if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling nervous, it's completely fine. Accept it, acknowledge it, be aware of it. Do not try to suppress it. That's not healthy, and it's not going to help you. It's just going to stress you out even more. Tip number two is increase your level of preparation. Try to get as much information as possible regarding who's going to be at the interview, who they are. Look them up on LinkedIn, research their backgrounds, research the company, research the job description, whoever you're speaking to on that initial phone call. Get more information about what they're looking for in an ideal candidate, what they want the ideal candidate to accomplish, more details about the project, so you're better able to prepare for the actual interview. Get that information. And tip number three, what was it? Empty pipeline. If you only have one or two interviews scheduled, this will affect your stress levels and your anxiety level, because if you're only depending on one or two interviews, that's much more pressure on you to do well on those interviews. So your target should be to pipeline, have three, 4, 5 interviews going on consistently on an ongoing basis. If you have like 5 interviews going on, you're not going to be as stressed when you go in for one interview, because you're going to be like, look, I'm going to do my best, but even if I mess this up, or even if they decide I'm not the right person for the role, I still have 4 other interviews to go to. So you're not going to be as stressed, folks. So I hope that information helps. Put in the comments. Let me know those 3 tips. Put in the comments. I want to make sure all of you understand this, and I will get around to questions right now. And by the way, any of your questions, put them in the comments right now. And shout out to everyone on LinkedIn, as well as those of you joining in from Facebook. Appreciate you tuning in and joining in. If you're watching the recording after this session has ended, appreciate you tuning in. Make sure, folks, if you found this information helpful, hit like, because that's how it gets visibility to your network. And this information might be helpful for others in your network, right? So if you found this valuable, hit like, put in the comments, let me know this information was helpful. I'm going to go through the comments right now. So Mina, Mina, thanks for your comment. I think Mina, I already responded to that. Naina says, hi Dean. Hey Naina, thanks so much for tuning in. Talib, no worries. So Devanshi says, everyone. So let me see this. Let me quickly read this question, folks. And again, folks, put your questions in the comments. I will address them. Everyone feels anxiety during an interview. The key is just don't show it. Be confident. Out of hundreds of applicants, you're the one getting the interview. So let me see. Let me just show this comment here. So Devanshi says, everyone feels the anxiety during an interview. The key is just don't show it. Be confident. Out of hundreds of applicants, you are the one getting that interview. If you want to tell your interviewer that you are a bit nervous, and trust me, you'll be much more confident after. Devanshi, great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And folks, I totally agree with that. Look, if you're in an interview and you're feeling nervous or anxious, it might sound kind of strange, but if you actually tell the person that you're nervous and anxious, it really reduces the level of anxiety and stress and nervousness. So Devanshi, that's a great tip, great advice. I definitely recommend that, folks, and make sure that, look, if nothing else, if after all these tips I provided, if after all you're still feeling nervous and anxious and you're at the interview, let the interviewer know. Let's just say, hey, look, I just want to let you know I'm really anxious and nervous. I'm really excited to be here, but I'm really nervous. I'm really anxious. I was really excited to be here. I just want to let you know that. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that I show you how I can be the ideal candidate for the role. Let the person know, folks. And after you do that, they're probably going to be like, oh no, don't worry, just relax, be comfortable. They're going to take more efforts into making you feel comfortable for the most part. You might even laugh about it. And you know what? After that, you're going to feel much more relaxed and your confidence level is going to go up. So great tip, Devanshi. Appreciate that. So Naina says, looking at the current situation, this is actually needed by everyone. And that's talk to someone and discuss. Thanks to both of you. Yeah, no worries, Naina. Appreciate that. And so let's see here. So Talib, thanks for your comments. So Talib said, sure is for me, and Talib is talking about experiencing anxiety. I tend to forget the things I've accomplished during my interviews, preventing me from effectively selling myself. Yeah, exactly, Taliban. I hope these 3 tips helped you out. And put in the comments. Let me know, Talib, if you found the information helpful, the tips that I advise. So Neeladri has a question. So Neeladri says, "Is it okay to stress a question twice if you don't get it at the first time?" Fantastic question, Neeladri. I get this question all the time. It's completely fine. Just make sure, folks, that so what Neeladri is asking is, "Hey, look, Dean, if someone asks me a question at the interview, I don't understand the question. Is it okay to ask the question again? Can I ask them again? Is it okay to do that?" So, great question. Now, 100% is completely fine to ask them to repeat the question. Just make sure, folks, just a heads up, make sure they finish asking the question before you ask for clarity. You do not want to interrupt, and maybe it's a multi-part question, right? A multiple parts question. So make sure the interviewer completes and finishes asking the question. If you don't understand the question, absolutely 100%, no issue with you saying, hey, Mr. So and so, like, I'm not sure. Thanks for the question. I'm not sure I understand XYZ. Can you please clarify that part of the question? Or you can say, I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you please repeat the question because I need more clarity on it? So feel free to do that. Absolutely. There's no issue with doing that. So thanks for your question, Neeladri. Great question. Let's see who else here. Let's see here. More questions. So Mina says she's actually talking about this topic this evening on her LinkedIn Live. So make sure you follow and connect with Mina, folks. And Mina will be a live guest on tomorrow's job search chat. Tomorrow she'll be live with me tomorrow, Thursday, at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time zone. But Mina, looks like Mina's covering this topic tonight as well at 6 p.m. So make sure you follow her. She'll be going live and she'll be covering this as well. And let's see what else. So I have more questions here. So Anushri says, one thing I have noticed with my experience is that turning the interview into a discussion. Once the discussion starts, I think the anxiety reduces. One way is to be prepared and have questions ready. Yeah, great advice, Anushri. Completely agree with that, folks. If you have your own questions prepared, and also if the discussion flows more like a conversation versus you thinking of it like an interview, you're gonna feel much more comfortable because it's just like a conversation, right? It's not just you sitting there waiting for them to answer the question and you answering the question and then you being quiet and asking for the next question. No, let it flow like a conversation. If it flows like a conversation, you're gonna feel more relaxed. You're gonna feel more confident. And you're not going to give it as much seriousness as you probably do in terms of, that level of anxiety and all that. So great comment, Anushri. So Arunima, hey, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in, Arunima. Hope you're doing good. So Arunima says, hi, Dean. How to make sure the recruiter reaches out to me? I have been applying to jobs, but nobody has reached out as yet. It gives me stress thinking about how the job market would be considering COVID-19. So Arunima, great question, and it's a situation a lot of people are in, right? So if you're applying for jobs and people are not responding, keep 2 things you need to keep in mind, folks. Number one is there's an increased level of available talent on the market right now. So any jobs you're applying for online, like tenfold more candidates are applying. So it's very easy for your resume to be lost in the stack. So do not depend on just these online applications and applying online, folks. And I discussed this actually with my last week's live stream that I had with Gurpreet Kaur, and she discussed this as well. Do not depend on just applying online. So what you want to do, Arunima, is aside from applying to these applications and these resumes, you want to message the contact person directly, and you also want to be able to pick up the phone even and introduce yourself and call them and follow up with them. And keep in mind that, and also the other thing is make sure you're applying for opportunities that are in sectors that have a high demand right now and are actively hiring. Because look, there's a lot of areas in the market, folks, where hiring has come to a standstill or much less. So you need to focus on where all the action is and make sure you're applying for roles in that area. So hope that helps, Arunima. Thanks for your question. So let's see here. More questions. So Nina asks, is it okay to gather info about the clients and discuss in the interview? Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking there, Nina. So I get, if you're asking, is it okay to research the company and then ask questions based on that at the interview? Yeah, sure. I don't see any issue with that. So I hope that helps you, Nina. If your question is more specific than that, let me know. Put it in another comment. Chaitanya says, wonderful tips. Hey, no worries, Chaitanya. I'm glad that you found the tips helpful. And tips are helpful. So Aziz says, thank you, Dean. I did an interview on Monday. I've been beating myself since then because I think I could do better. Listening to you right now makes me relaxed and ready for the next interview. Hey, I'm glad to hear that, Aziz. And Aziz, hey, don't beat yourself up, Aziz. Sometimes you learn through experience, right? So, and it goes back to those three things, Aziz, right? Tip number one, if you're feeling anxiety, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You're a human being. You're a human being. I feel anxiety. You feel anxiety. I'm pretty sure everyone on here feels anxiety. Everyone does. Okay. It's so tip number one, folks, it's okay to feel anxiety. Accept it, acknowledge it. Do not try to suppress it. It's completely fine. Tip number two goes into that preparation, right? Research, preparation. That's going to help you feel more confident. And tip number three is having a full pipeline. Having 3-4 interviews in your pipeline will help reduce that level of anxiety. Easier said than done. I totally get that. It's easier said than done to get 3-4 interviews, but that will greatly reduce your anxiety because you have other interviews in the pipeline. So Aziz, look, stay positive. Don't beat yourself up over it. There's always other opportunities. So keep moving forward, Aziz, and I hope these tips help. So someone asked, I've done some interviews at work, noticed a few people. Let's see here. So I'm not sure who this was. For some reason, it's not showing the name of this person. So, whoever you are, thanks for your question. So it says, I've done some interviews at work, noticed a few people go off track while answering questions due to nervousness. How do people make sure they stay on track? What can interviewers do to make the interviewees feel more comfortable? Yeah, so that's a great that's a great question. By the way, kudos to whoever wrote that, because what this tells me is that whoever you are who wrote that, unfortunately, it's not showing your name for whatever reason, but it shows that you're a very empathetic person as an interviewer. So this is a question from an interviewer, folks, the interviewer, right? The person interviewing the candidates, and they're asking, look, how do I help people feel more comfortable? Because look, a lot of people get nervous and anxious, and they go off topic and off track. So great question for the person doing this. So look, what I would suggest, I'd say the first few minutes, just focus on some small talk, some building, just help make the person feel comfortable. Ask them about themselves. Doesn't have to be work related. Ask them, how was your? It could be something very simple. How was your commute? Yeah, how's the, are you enjoying the weather out there? If it's a video interview, of course, the circumstances are different right now because of COVID. Ask them how they're dealing with the whole situation. If everything's good, everything's okay. What are they doing? What are their hobbies and interests? What are they doing for fun? How are they keeping themselves occupied? And also, don't just focus on them. You can talk about yourself as well. You can be like, hey, you know what? This weather is so amazing. I can't even go outside. It's frustrating. And, I'm just trying to balance, myself and my family and stuff like that. So just a little bit of casual, chit chat and small talk. It is helpful, right? In helping people feel more relaxed, and letting the candidate know that, you're a human being just like them. Right. And you're both going through the same things right now, and that you both have your own interests and this and that and all that stuff. So, just make sure that you as an interviewer is putting some effort into making them feel comfortable. If you go bang on right into the interview, I mean, it's possible that it can come across as a little, the other person might feel anxious and nervous, because at the end of the day, look, they're in front of a complete stranger. And I guess as interviewers, you have to be, empathetic to that. So, I mean, that's a great question, and I appreciate the person who asked that. And in terms of people going off track, what I do as a recruiter, I experience this all the time, by the way, where people feel anxious and nervous and they start talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. Don't penalize them for that. Like, I know, there's some interviewers out there, and unfortunately, I've gotten feedback from some organizations and clients who say, yeah, they were going off topic, off track. Folks, you got to be empathetic to the fact that, look, this candidate is probably very nervous and anxious. So when they go off track, you as an interviewer have a responsibility to get them back on track, right? You need to make sure that you bring them back on track. So if they start talking, they're getting nervous and they start talking about a whole bunch of other stuff, acknowledge what they're saying. You want to say, yeah, okay, that's great. That's amazing. And then maybe rephrase your question or bring them back into focus. Bring them back into the topic you were asking about. Give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And if they keep consistently going off track and beating around the bush, now that could be a sign that they don't know they don't have an understanding of what you're asking for. So that's where you have to evaluate as an interviewer. Number one, did I give them enough opportunity to come back on track? and explain the question that I'm asking, right? Was it simply nervousness or anxiety? Or number two, did I give them enough opportunity to get back on track, and yet they're still, not answering the question, or avoiding answering the question? That's where you got to make that assessment, right? As an interviewer, whether it's just anxiety or nervousness, or do they really not know about the topic that you're asking about. So that's where you got to make that evaluation, but help them out with it, folks, right? So thanks for that question. Great question. So next question here. Let me take a quick sip of water, folks. All right, so Kumar, thanks for your question. So a recruiter called me. She said some clients are picky about 3 months gap. Is it really so in Canada? Please share your thoughts. I'm in IT. Yeah, Kumar. So great question. So Kumar, I mean, frankly, from my perspective, 3 months is not going to kill you. It's not like you've been away or out of the market for like a year. I mean, then you might have to explain, okay, what were you up to, or if anything, right? It depends on your situation, of course. If it was for personal reasons, you might not want to discuss. Obviously, that's no one's business. But 3 months is not going to kill you, Kumar. I don't see why that would be an issue. So yeah, that would be my response to that. I don't think 3 months is not a big deal. Like, I don't see how, like, no one's gonna forget everything they know in 3 months. So I don't see that as an issue, Kumar. So I wouldn't pay much attention to that. Just keep pushing through, keep looking for opportunities. So Talib says, how would you improve your speech during the interview? How would you suppress rambling? So firstly, Talib, to answer the first part of your question, how would you improve your speech during the interview? So my suggestion to that, Talib, is what you want to do is, as much as possible, anticipate what questions you will be asked, and then prepare your responses. And you need to prepare it and practice it. You need to kind of role play by yourself even. You want to practice it. And because look, if you're, and I'm speaking about IT because I've mostly recruited in IT. If you're a software developer, there are certain questions most developers will anticipate, right? You know that better than I do. There's certain questions that they're going to ask you about. If you're a business analyst, same thing. If you're a project manager, there's certain questions that you know for sure 100% they're going to ask you. So practice your responses, Talib. If need be, memorize it, right? And this depends on how anxious and nervous you get. Memorize it, right? If you have to, but memorize it to the point where it's coming across as normal and natural. And to answer the second part of your question, I believe you asked, how do you prevent or suppress rambling? Don't suppress it, Talib. Look, if everyone has different personalities, everyone has different ways of communicating. What you might want to do would be probably what Devanshi mentioned before. Let them know up front. Let them know, hey, look, I just want to let you know I'm really excited to be here. I do have a tendency to get nervous and anxious. I might even have a tendency to kind of ramble on here and there. If I do, just feel free to let me know and just give me a heads up and let me know. Because look, I'm excited to be here, and I want to make sure that I'm able to effectively show you how I'm a good candidate for this role. Just be transparent like that, Talib. People really value transparency, especially in these days and times that we're in. Everyone has their own situation and their personal situation, and most human beings are very empathetic to each other. So just be upfront about it. If you're nervous, let them know you're nervous. If you're feeling anxiety, let them know you're feeling anxiety. If you're gonna ramble, let them know you have a tendency to ramble. This will neutralize the effects of it, right? So even when you do ramble, you're not worried about it, because you know what? You're going to be thinking, okay, yeah, I'm rambling right now, but I already gave them a heads up. I already told them I'm going to be rambling. So what's the point of me kind of getting stressed out about that, right? So be upfront with it. So hope that helps, Talib. Sunda says it's me, Sunda. Oh, okay, Sunda. So you were the person. Okay, yeah. So Sunda, I'm not sure why it's not showing your name, but appreciate your question and thanks for that. That's for the interviews going off topic. Okay, so Sundis was the one asking about the being an interviewer and people going off topic. So okay, that's good. So Ricky says, I'm a new graduate junior developer looking for a full-time job. Any tips? Applying online seems so hopeless. Yeah, I totally understand that, Ricky. So it goes back to what I was saying before, Ricky. Huge pool of available talent right now. So many people in layoffs. So many people let go, so many companies shut down, a lot of available talent. So what that means is a huge bunch of people that are primarily applying online, just like you are, Ricky. So what you need to do, Ricky, you need to be creative. You need to see what other methods you can use to get in touch with the decision makers and the people, the recruiters, the hiring managers, all those people. You need to figure out how can you separate yourself from hundreds and thousands of other applications. And I've been advising this for a while, folks. You need to develop the ability to pick up the phone and call into the organization to introduce yourself and see if you can separate yourself that way, and through networking. And networking is more so of a long-term strategy, right? So if you don't want to use the phone, you might have to engage in a long-term strategy, which is connecting with people on LinkedIn, building the relationship, and then seeing if they can help get you in front of the right people at the organization. So look, you don't depend on just applying online, folks. That would be my what I want to stress to all of you. So look, I hope that answers your question, Ricky. Stay positive, and again, be creative. See what other means you can use to get in front of the right people, which could include identifying the right people on LinkedIn and sending them a private message to introduce yourself, and seeing if you can get on that phone call. So look, hope this session was helpful, folks. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And again, remember these 3 tips. If you're feeling anxiety, tip number 1, it's okay to feel anxious. Tip number 2, preparation. The more you prepare, the less nervous and anxious you feel. And tip number 3, easier said than done, but have a consistent pipeline of 4 to 5 interviews, between 4 to 5 interviews consistently. So that way you're not too stressed out about messing up or not getting the opportunity with one interview, because why? You have 4 or 5 others that you can do. Sorry, Ricky, I just saw your question. So Ricky asks, yeah, if you call a large organization and ask for recruiters or HR, yeah, exactly, Ricky. Most large organizations have an HR department. So ask to speak to HR or someone in recruitment. So then that way you can have that conversation with them, or they can direct you to the right people. So look, that looks like that's all it is for questions, folks. And thanks again, everyone tuning in from Facebook. Appreciate that. Special shout out to all of you on LinkedIn. Appreciate that. And thanks so much for tuning in. Hope this information was helpful. And look, put in the comments. Let me know if you found this helpful. Folks, please hit like if you found this useful. If you don't hit like, this content is not going to be made available to people in your network who I might not know, who I might not be able to help, right? So make sure you hit like. And I hope everybody's staying safe and staying well. Stay positive. Keep taking action. And stay positive, folks. And I'll keep doing these every Wednesday, 11 a.m. I'm doing these live streams. So mark your calendar. LinkedIn doesn't always give the notifications. Facebook also might not give the right notifications. So put in your calendar, 11 a.m. Dean goes live. If you don't get the notification, just go to my LinkedIn profile or go to my Facebook page, and it should show that I'm live. And just click on it, join in, and I'm happy to have you on to answer your questions and all that. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll connect again next week.